And welcome back to Clutch Time. This is your host, Rico, and today we are running the fast break where we are looking at some of the bigger storylines that took place in SimWorld U on Thursday. There were 10 games in total, and there was a lot of good basketball action out there, but there were definitely some, I think, major storylines to go back and take a look at. And so I want to start with a game that I just got back from, and that is VCU versus the Ohio State University. And so, look, I think that the key takeaway out of this game was just VCU and their ability to really dominate Ohio State. I think that they did a terrific job as far as getting it down to the post and really taking advantage of Ohio State in the post. Because when you look at the fact that once VCU got the lead, I think you could almost say that they really dominated both halves from that standpoint. And really, ultimately, they end up beating Ohio State 86-61 in this. But I loved the way that VCU just took advantage of their opportunities close to the basket. They shot 57.8% from the field, and they also made Ohio State pay every time that they fouled them. They shot 90% from the free throw line. On the flip side of this, look, this was tough for Ohio State. They never really looked comfortable. They tried to shoot the three ball. They only shot 23.1% from there, so they really struggled in that aspect. When you look at the top performers in this game, you had Marlo Fultz, played 30 minutes, 16 points, 5 rebounds, and an assist. But one of the more notable players that we were talking about throughout the broadcast was Cody Johnson, and the fact that he was coming back from the G League, back to this team. I thought that he was really maybe going to put his fingerprints on this game, especially once VCU really seized the momentum. He had 11 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists. Didn't have a bad plus minus box score, but it wasn't great. And so I thought that he was going to be a bit more aggressive with VCU taking over. But more importantly, I think that the matchup that he was in, I thought that he was maybe going to bring it, but that didn't happen because I think the player of the game, as far as the entire game, it was Jahi Hobson. I thought that he was absolutely fantastic in this game. 21 minutes, 26 points, just 2 rebounds in this one. But statistically, he does hit the glass. 0 assists in this. But, man, they needed him offensively. He is the team enforcer. And I really felt like his energy and just his efforts on the offensive end, it really lifted VCU up as a team, and it also just really lifted the energy in the building. And so a super impressive performance from him. And I just loved watching him go to work offensively. I mean, he showed us a lot in his bag offensively. Showed us that he is comfortable going to his left. He's definitely comfortable going to his right. He's comfortable, working on the box. His footwork was fantastic. He also stepped away from the basket. There were times where he got a rebound and dribbled up. There was just a couple plays where he had some lapses defensively, but for the most part, I think that he was pretty active as far as keeping his man in front of him. And look, I know we talk about a lot of these players that are going to definitely be top picks or, just going in the first round of the SWBA, whether it's CKC, maybe DJ Wagner, Jalen Snow, Trey Turner, Lamarian Sherwood, just to name off a couple of players. But I think that personally, it's players like Hobson that maybe these players are players that you're going to want to get as a GM, because this is absolutely gold. If you can get a player like Hobson at the end of the first round or in the second round, this is maybe a player that could be even more impactful than maybe a first round player. And I'm thinking of players like, Jalen Brunson. I'm thinking of the Joker from Denver. I'm thinking of Malcolm Brogdon. Like, these are just a couple players that have come out in the second round and have been very good. And so Hobson is a player that I want to see moving forward, what he can do, because I think that he definitely, put himself out there in a nationally televised game. Very impressive. I love this play here where, again, he's just showing you how comfortable he is working away from the box. And look at the footwork. I mean, look at the show of the ball and look at the confidence. You could see the energy really rise in the building. And so, look, he's definitely a player that I'm looking forward to seeing some more footage on and seeing if he can really make a name for himself and maybe be a player that does get to SWBA and maybe impact the franchise. And so, next up, I want to talk about another storyline that took place, in this game, and it's with the Ohio State head coach. And it's something that I think that if you're part of the fan base of Ohio State, you have to be concerned with what was said. And so, this is Ohio State's head coach after the game talking to reporters saying, I'm not sure who this team is game to game. We need to figure that out. And we have to figure that out as conference play gets nearer or is here. And so, just paraphrasing this. And so, look, that is, man, that's tough to hear. All right. Because you just take a tough loss to VCU. You're getting ready to go into conference play as their coach, really just talked about here. But when your confidence is shaken and you don't know who you are, that is going to be an issue because in that conference for Ohio State, they have Maryland, they have Minnesota, they have Rutgers, they have Indiana, they have Michigan State. It's going to be a tough conference. And so this is the type of loss that if you're not prepared for, this moving forward, like you have to take the learning lesson from it. You can't let it be something that really tears your team apart because this is the type of loss that can really derail a team. And you don't want to hear that from, the leader of your team, your head coach is questioning who you are game to game going into conference play. So I think that is certainly something that we want to take a look at, excuse me. And so next up, now I want to talk about, Maryland and just talking about the ability of their lottery pick there. We just talked about him just a moment ago, but CKC, look, I mean, you get a chance to see just how clutch he is. 1 of 9 going into the second half, but then he picks it up. He scores 20 points in the second half. Yeah, 20 second half points. And what is wild about that is Maryland as a team scored 31 points in the second half. So that just lets you know just how much of an impact that really CKC was against New Mexico as they were able to really pull it out late. And I love the fact that CKC was really able to also stuff the stat sheet a little bit. And so, I like the fact that he was able to get some rebounds in this one, 4 rebounds. He also had 6 assists. I did have 4 turnovers, but, CKC, Bleacher Report has him as like a Jamal Murray type of ceiling. And I think that's why you see the similarities because I'm thinking of Jamal Murray being able to help the Nuggets come back, being down 3-1 in some playoff series. And you see that clutch gene with CKC and his ability to pull it out in the clutch. And I think Maryland as a team, the bottom line here is that they were more efficient than the University of New Mexico. They shot 50% from the field. University of New Mexico, 42.1%. And that was really the difference. I think just the efficiency from Maryland and just their ability defensively to turn New Mexico over. In fact, they forced them into 10 turnovers. And so Maryland was able to really score some points off of that. And so I think the key storyline to come out of this is that now we see that Coach Pitino for the University of New Mexico is really contemplating now changing up the lineup. And so, look, I think that it's a bit early to go out and want to change up the lineup after a loss. I get that there is some expectation around this team having won the NIT, and I get that you have, Ireland early. And him having the first round potential. I totally understand that, but I think that it is too quick to go ahead and jump on the panic button. This kind of reminds me of the same situation, I think, with Ohio State. I think that you've just got to, calm the waters here and figure it out. I don't think that necessarily a lineup change is going to help New Mexico at this point in time, but we'll see what happens. I think that is going to be really a story to really take a look at moving forward. So next up, another story that really I wanted to take a look at is the situation that happened in Georgetown. And so, or Georgetown versus Indiana. And so Georgetown takes a tough loss in this game, really an upset loss. And, I think that when you look at Georgetown in this game and what ultimately happened, it was just that Indiana just was a much more gutsier team. I mean, they led 30-26 in the game, and they just would not give up the rope. They just held on in the second half, and they just pushed Georgetown all the way till the end. I mean, they hung on. They even outscored them by a point in the second half, 38-37. But, it was just the fact that Indiana just shot just a little bit better overall than what Georgetown shot. It was a 48.3 percentage compared to 44.1% to Georgetown. So they were right there in it. Georgetown struggled to shoot the three ball, only shooting 29.4% from three, 77.8 from downtown. And I think that this game came down to just one possession. And you're seeing the headline there where Coach Cooley kind of gets into it with Keith Singleton. And I think ultimately what that comes down to is you have two competitive minds out there. And I guess, it had something to do with either some spacing at the end of this game because, Georgetown had a chance to possibly go ahead and get back into this game and maybe tie it up. But, it was just, I guess, an offensive play that just didn't go the way that they wanted to go. Obviously, some frustration from Coach Cooley. Then you see some frustration back from Singleton. That led to just, players kind of stepping in between the two of them. But, I think that ultimately it's going to be nothing. I think that is just, two competitors out there. And it's a tough loss, right? Like nobody wants to be, upset like this. So 67-64, especially when you think that you have a chance to possibly maybe get back into the game or not the game up. And so that's unfortunate. So next up, I think the last thing that really kind of stood out in Thursday was just what went on with the University of Houston. And I think that we see that Coach Sampson gets ejected in the second half, 2 technical fouls. And really, I think that with Houston, and I talked about this a little bit before on another show, that just the frustration, I think it's just boiling over in Houston right now. And I think that that's what you saw in today's game. And it's unfortunate, man, because we know that they have a really good recruiting class, and I think that they have a great coach. And I'm not sure, I don't think that the program is necessarily pushing Coach Sampson out. And we, hear the pressure. Is he going to come back? I don't think that they would necessarily be moving on from him. It's just, what does Coach Sampson want to do? And so can he really pull this group together, especially as we move closer to conference play? And make no mistake about it. I mean, this was a very bad loss because really, when you look at it, Illinois really dominated Houston, outscoring them 45-28. They were a lot more efficient shooting the basketball, 50% from the field versus Houston's 39.3% from the field. So, look, they were super frustrated going at it with the refs and things like that. That certainly wasn't going to help them. But I think that this is something that is going to still be a storyline, as we move forward into conference play. And really, as we end the season, is what is going to happen to Coach Sampson? Is he going to step down? Is he going to go out, and is he going to come back for this team? Is this team really going to turn it around? So anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about some of these top storylines from Thursday's night of action. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Make sure that you go ahead and you like and you subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to us here as we continue to pump out this hot content for you guys. And so anyway, as we say around here, see the game, be the game. I will see you on the next one. All right, peace.